What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Snap on Ego. My name is Brad, otherwise known as Bradsford, and I'm joined, as always, by Chris Bootman Boutte, this time featuring a beanie.
What up? I want to do a powerful what up for everybody out there. We got a fun and exciting show today.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about a bunch of new cards looking at next month. Typically, we don't usually go over data mines too far in advance, but we found a sweet spot to do it this week as we're approaching the midpoint of January. And typically, because we just got that patch, we just got these new data mines, this is going to be more likely to be what you guys see, or what everyone sees, I guess, as we go into February.
Yeah, because they did change one of the cards, too.
Two of them.
Did they? Oh, we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, you can't trust the like remember when Blob was just a 6'3", couldn't be moved?
Yeah, it was like, can't be moved. I was like, what is this garbage?
He was also like no, he wasn't a 6'3", he was like a 3'3", like a 3'4" or something. It was just a worse Colossus.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, are people trying to move cards that bad? Like what is this? Yeah. But hey, I when they change the text, I'm gonna remind everybody until the cows come home. I called it. When they change the text, I'm like, this is gonna be the most busted card, and we'll talk about that in a little bit because you even tweeted about it recently, and a lot of people are complaining. But what's our first topic for the day?
Well, we were talking about data mines, right? So the first thing we have is speaking of data mines, you're not allowed to have them anymore as far as bundles are concerned.
Nope.
Data mines are essentially locked out of, bundles are essentially locked out of data mines moving forward. And I can see both sides as to why this is the case. On one hand, it sucks for the community. Like, the biggest complaint is you can't properly even attempt to budget. And I know, Chris, you've gone on record to be like, look, y'all whine when they change shit or whatever anyway, and that's fine. And I agree that people have a tendency to complain about data mines when they're not to be trusted anyway. However, they're usually they're within a few, meters of each other, right?
Yeah.
So as far as like what it was and what it ends up being, even if it gets nerfed or gets buffed, for the most part, if I go in trying to, check out a future data mine bundle and I'm like, I'm going to budget for it and it's 4,000 gold, then it's probably going to be at least give or take 1,000 gold within that range typically. So I can still kind of budget. So I don't know. What do you think of this? Just
for those of you who don't know, by the way, previously with data mines, not only did we get new cards, but you would see the new bundles. Like, if you're not just following me and Brad, like, make sure you follow other people, because we don't talk about it a lot on our channels or even on the podcast when it comes to like the data mine like bundles, even though now you can't. There's a lot of data mine information, spotlight cash weeks, everything. Like, you guys are in a small percentage of people like listening to news, so make sure you're checking that out so you can plan ahead. But yeah, anyways, we could see the bundles before, but yeah, so one of the things that I've been on one for like months now is anytime a data mine bundle had worst value on launch, everybody would lose their mind. It would, like, people would be, like the rage baiting YouTubers would be like, oh my God, they nerfed the bundle, da, 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 da. But we've actually had like 3 or 4 bundles recently that have gone up. They've become better in value, and it's just fucking crickets. Like, you guys, I'm a big psychology nerd, and y'all need to learn about the negativity bias, all right? We're more likely to pay attention and focus on and discuss the negatives than the positives. So, like, that's what drove me nuts. Like, yeah, every once in a while, a bundle would get quote unquote nerfed, right? But whenever they would become better in value, nobody would talk about it. But anyways, here's my argument for this. Like, I get it. I get that it's good to plan ahead. Like the ability to see what bundles were coming out. Me personally, it wasn't so much for the value as a whale. I would pretty much do it for like variants. Like, if a variant popped up in the shop, I'd like go and say like, I'd go check, the data mine bundles and say, oh, is there like a better variant coming out that I might want? Okay, I'll just wait, whatever. That's kind of what I use it for. But here's my main argument. And this is what's been my argument forever with Marvel Snap. Like, y'all are treating Marvel Snap like they're the rule and not the exception. Tell me another place in your life Any other area where you're spending money like a grown-ass adult, where you know 1-2 months advance, even a week in advance, about deals and sales? Name one other industry that does that. Like, I go to the grocery store all the time. Like, I'm terrible at shopping, so like I'll go and I'll forget stuff and I'll go back and whatever. But anyways, the grocery store has sales for a week, okay? The store I go to with Smith's here, might be Kroger in your area, but the sale starts on Tuesday, all their deals, and they end on the following Tuesday, okay? I don't know what 2 Tuesdays from now is going to be. I don't know that. So I buy stuff now, and then if a better deal comes out next week, oh well, I'm shit out of luck, right? But people are treating Marvel Snap like, well, I like to budget in the future, and I can't believe they did this to me. Like, sorry, dude, that's just the way the world works. That's like they were providing you with a luxury, and now that's taking it away. They're just like everybody else now. Does that make sense? Do I sound crazy when saying that?
No, but I will say, first off, it's Publix, by the way. That is the local grocery chain down here.
Is that yours?
Yeah. And when it comes to like your argument for like the whole grocery chain and like the sales and stuff like that, yes, I agree with you. We usually don't get stuff in advance. Even like looking at like bigger sales like Black Friday and stuff like that, usually don't get the sales in advance at all. Maybe a week if you're lucky. For the big ones, like the big events. But then week to week, I agree. However, to play devil's advocate, when those sales do come out, especially with grocery chains, for example, Publix here is very big on doing BOGOs. Buy one, get one free, buy one, get one, like $5, whatever, something like that. 2 for $5, all that bullshit. They do them in cycles, though. So, for example, I used to work for Publix in the produce section growing up. That was my first job when I was 18. And there's 4 brands of OJ. Okay? 1 week, Tropicana is 2 for $5. The next week, Simply is 2 for $5. The next week, Indian River is 2 for $5. And then the next week, Tropicana again. I can basically, like, that's just how it works. It cycles through them over and over again. So even though I missed out on a chance on a sale before, when it comes to groceries and stuff like that, for the most part, and even like electronics, TVs, whatever, those sales will come back around again at some point because the product still exists for a while. Like that 55-inch Samsung TV went on sale ended, you missed it, damn, give it a month. It'll be back on sale again. With Marvel Snap, we don't have that luxury. These are exclusive variants in which if you don't get it, you don't get it. Like, ever, or at least like it's going to take a year. Like, that's my problem with it.
But how does that change whether or not it's data mined? It's still the same thing, right? It's either a good deal or it's a bad deal, right?
Correct. But the difference is players, when they can see it a month in advance for like a data mine or whatever, then they can at least go like, well, I know I want to save my resources, my gold. Like, I'm not going to go heavy-handed on like trying to get like the Hellfire album finished this month because there's a 4,000 gold variant bundle I really want and I can save up for it, right? But if they don't have that knowledge, preemptively, they might spend some gold here and there throughout the month, and then it rolls around, jumps on. They're like, well, fuck, I would have gotten that, but now I can't because I wasn't able to budget.
Here's my argument for that. If you are this concerned about whether or not bundles are data mined, you're in no position financially to splurge on expensive variant bundles. You should be focusing on your collection and getting like credits and tokens and things like that. Like if it's like that big of a deal, right? And I understand we like variants, we all like variants, but like variants are icing, right? You want good cards, right? And if you're that stressed about whether or not you can plan a month in advance for like a sweet variant, you know what I mean? It's like, because there's always going to be sales on credits, tokens, gold. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I just don't.
But the variants, okay, I get what you're saying. I also don't think most people aren't like, again, you got to remember the vocal minority is not going to be the mass majority of what people are responding to. I do think the majority of players are a little bummed about the not being able to see data mines. I don't think they're raising their pitchfork saying Second Dinner needs to fucking like just do X, Y, and Z, or they're getting all mad. I think it's the average person is more so just looking at that. or I guess I should say the average person that's within the Snap community online, because in reality, the average player doesn't know anything about what's going on online, right? The casual player doesn't watch us, doesn't watch any other content, and they just go, cool, I played the game. But for the average person that's actually involved, I feel like it's more so like, damn, I would have gotten that bundle. Oh, well, can't get it now. That kind of sucks. I think that's the scale of it.
Yeah,
and I
no,
think that's
trust me.
perfectly within reason. And I'm a part of that in a way, because I'll give you an example. The the Black Panther bundle, the Flames one, whatever, the
Phoenix Force.
Yeah, like that one we saw a month or so in advance, and it was an amazing value. And I was like, cool, I'm saving up for that one. I did. I got it. Had I not seen that one advance, if it was part of the current cycle, never would have touched it. Never would have absolutely touched it. I can guarantee you, and that's the other thing. It's not only that, it's like the bundles are super inconsistent lately when it comes to what you get for tokens and like credits, and sometimes they'll flip-flop them, and like originally it was 10,000 credits, and 10,000 tokens was data mine also, and it switches to 1,000 tokens and now it's 10,000 credits instead, and that always sucks. But at least players get some kind of agency with these to look at, because tokens are so incredibly valuable now, because of the way spotlights are and the fact that like you don't get them as often. So if a bundle comes out like the one we see on the screen here with 3,000 collector's tokens, which doesn't happen too often anymore. Usually it's like 1,000 or even less, or it's just all.
This is literally like one of the very first bundles they did. I'm surprised you like put this one out. This is like one of the first bundles.
Well, this is a great example, by the way. This bundle came out the first month or two of Snap. It was in 2022. It was in the first year. Or the first.
Yeah, it was around. I got this bundle for my son for Christmas. He really wanted it. So,
right.
So yeah, it was like December-ish.
If you missed on this bundle, like, and who's the artist here? You know who this artist is?
That's isn't that Kim or Jacinto?
Jacinto, and that is one of the most popular artists in Snap. If you want to be the kind of person that collects all the Kim Jacinto players, and you're a player that started playing sometime last year, let's say you started playing in the summer, right after the Zabu, all that shit happened, you'll never be able to get this, at least for now, and that fucking sucks.
Yeah, I've never seen it again. Maybe. Well, I don't know. It wouldn't pop up in my variant shop. Like, does this no longer pop up in variant shops or anything like that?
No, Chris, you have to remember, variant bundles don't rotate in the shop. They just don't. Yeah. They're a bundle forever. So like, that's another big portion of it. Like I understand being responsible about your money and everything like that, but if you're in a financial situation or in a position where you can splurge a little bit here and there, but you can't just do it right there when the day it comes out, and you kind of want to plan ahead, put a couple bucks each paycheck aside, because some people, they have that kind of circumstances, and they can't do that anymore. That does suck.
Listen, I get it. I've been broke most of my life. I'm Mr. Anti-capitalist. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I get the bummer of it. I think where Second Dinner screwed up was giving people access to this in the first place. It's like, it should have never been a thing, right?
No,
like,
I disagree. 100% disagree. You know why? Because every other game does this. Every other game is data mines. All of them. Fortnite has it. Call of Duty has it. Anything that has microtransactions and has bundles like that, I can go look at the files for the newest update that comes out.
Really? They do that for like Fortnite with like upcoming like skins and stuff coming out?
Yes, it's all data mined all the time. Like if you look at like if you go on YouTube and type like upcoming Fortnite bundles, they'll be like, this is this newest patch, this is the newest data mine stuff we have. And usually Call of Duty, for example, they'll look at data mine and stuff like that, and they don't always have the price of stuff. You just have like, it's probably going to be around this or this, but you know it's coming. But here's the difference. Here's the absolute difference between all that. Fortnite store is a little wonky. It's a middle ground between this and Call of Duty, but let's use Call of Duty as an example. When an item hits the shop in Call of Duty, it's there for a while. A fucking while. Right? Like, it's there for probably like at least a couple months. Or it's there for the cycle of the games, depending on the bundle. So that's where I think Snap leans a bit too heavy into the mobile predatory aspect, and I will call it out for being predatory because it fucking is. It is FOMO. When you have a little timer in there, it's like, this is available. Like, look at that. Look at the top. 3 weeks, right? That's just 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, no, I remember being mad about this one. This one ended right before Christmas. I was like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? So I had to give it to my son before Christmas.
If you go to your shop right now, the one that's like part of the 3 to 5 week one is the $10 one, which I think is smart on their part to have the $10 one that has 1,000 gold in it. That one you want to keep around, because then when they release the big bundle like this one that we see, they don't have them up for 3 weeks anymore. They have them up for 3 days, 5 days maybe. Like that's the norm for the expensive bundles now. So that's my issue. Like you're leaning too heavily into the FOMO aspect of like fucking variants. If you just left the shop, like left these things in the shop for a month instead of it being 5 days, you'd sell more. You really fucking would, because you'd still get that FOMO aspect to an extent.
I will concede that if other games do this, like I just Googled like upcoming Fortnite bundles and stuff, if other games do this, and especially Fortnite, one of like the biggest, most profitable games out there, then okay, all right, maybe Second Dinner should re-implement them back. I'm curious their thought process though. It's just I often like it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care what topic we're talking about. I always try to put myself in both sets of shoes, right? And like the amount of shit Second Dinner gets, right? Like I'm wondering if they removed it to get rid of the headache. You know what I'm saying? Like just people talking about it and like complaining when like the value got worse or whatever. They just recently had that thing where there was like a typo if you bought some bundle through the web shop versus the app, and they had to like give people like 6,000 free gold or something like that because somebody made a typo. You know what I mean? Just like stuff like that. They're just like constantly getting
let's be honest though. That doesn't cost them anything. It's fake currency. Like, yes, you spend money on it, but look, if they gave every single person in the game everyone 6,000 gold, they would like probably in the long run over the next 3 months gain actually more money because you're getting people to start spending.
Let me tell you a funny story that happened yesterday. Yesterday, I don't know if this happened to you too, but I load up Marvel Snap just in the evening, got to play some Snap. I load it up, I have something in my inbox, and it's 2,000 gold, and it's like, thanks for your support of Marvel Snap. And I like tweeted it out. I'm like, oh shit, 2,000 gold in the inbox. And people were replying like, oh, I didn't get it. And then like some people started saying like, oh, that's from the creator program. And then someone was like, oh, he must know this. Like, listen, motherfuckers. I ended up deleting the tweet because then I felt like a dick. But we've literally never gotten a notification about that gold. Ever.
Yeah, they just told us started today.
Yeah. So they just started doing it. That's why I was like, oh, cool. Like maybe they screwed something up somewhere. You know, they're like gifting us some gold. Like we've always had to like guess. And like half the time I'm like, I don't know if I got my gold or not. I wasn't keeping track. They'll just like ping us somewhere and be like, hey, did you guys get your gold? I'm like, I don't fucking know. You know, so I'm glad they changed it. So if I offended anybody, I wasn't trying to gloat about my 2,000 gold. This is the first time they did this. And anytime something shows up in the inbox, I always try to tweet it out, let my Discord know just in case people miss it. But anyways, maybe they'll bring the bundles back. I don't know the thought process behind it. Next topic. What do we got?
All right, so the next thing is just the overall meta and Blob, our wonderful friend.
Wait, what about the tweet, the Lauren Whatever thing? I thought you had a slide for that, or no?
I got that slide a few slides later.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
so
guys.
That's our gap between meta, Blob, and then like new cards.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so we're back in the meta talk, and right now the top deck at the moment is Thanos Blob. Typically
what is this? What is this picture? It looks like a picture of me from my like addiction days, just grubbing down on some food.
That's Blob. And it's an interesting topic of discussion. You mentioned this the last episode where it's like you compare this to Giganto, you compare this to Infinite, you compare this to pretty much any other big card, and the downsides of those cards, and you're like, okay, well, how does Blob stack up to that when he's on average probably 20 plus power, bigger than Infinite? So are we at the point where he's too good, or are you part of the camp where I've seen players be like, well, you know, there's Shang-Chi, there's Valkyrie, there's Shadow King, there's all these cards that can counter him. So just play those.
I've personally been really bored with the meta. And I don't think it's because of Blob. Usually like I'll get bored because of the decks I'm facing, but personally, I've been bored with the game because they've nerfed the hell out of every deck I like playing. You know what I mean? Like decks where you're putting down multiple cards and like, like bounce. Bounce is just trash now. Like they like once they hit Werewolf by Night, it's gone back to just being like trash, There's some cards coming up that might help bounce a little bit, but that's where my boredom's been coming from. Blob is interesting because like I discussed on the last episode, the main argument I hear from people is that one, right? Like you put him up next to the biggest cards in the game and he has like no downside. It's just throw him down, and the only downside is that if you drew some big cards. But if you have a deck full of big cards, I just played a game right before we started recording where I was testing out this like kind of new blob deck, and it was Vibranium Mines. I got like 30 plus power easy. I was just throwing shit down on Vibranium Mines. But two things. One of the main things, because I'm Mr. Tech Card, I'm like, listen, shut up, just tech against blob. Use Shang-Chi, use Shadow King. Well, technically now, all you can use is Shadow King or Valkyrie because Kyera is a thing, right? Like you can't even Shang Blob anymore. So that's one of the issues. But yeah, the other one is that, yeah, he's not having much of a downside. So it's interesting that I don't know. I've been looking and seeing what people have been talking about, like for a nerf. Like, how do you properly nerf this card? I've seen some ideas floating around. One thing people have been screaming about is like, just make him a 6-0 for now. Just at least shave like four power off him. Like he doesn't need that. But yeah, as far as nerfs go, I just saw somebody on Twitter. It might have been Raven.
Well, here, we'll go over Raven. Actually, let's go over Ravens first because I actually have 4 suggestions in my next few
slides, look at you.
That I put together from people put a bunch of things.
Okay.
But Ravens is actually similar to a couple of these. So actually, let's just go to the first one. So the first one I've seen, and the number varies, but I've just put the +5 because I personally like that number. Merge your deck into this and gain +5 for each card this way instead of their total power. So if you hit an Infinite, you don't gain 20, you gain 5. Now, here's the thing, Chris. On average, listen. On average, how many cards are you hitting in the end game? 3 or 4, right?
But the main deck he's in is Thanos.
Yeah, so 6.
Yeah, so that'd be 30 power.
Yeah,
5 times 6. Maybe if you tweak that number.
So it feels like +3.
Yeah, maybe.
So you want him to be around, probably between like his floor consistently around, because like this is a knob that they would probably like to tweak because they like those kind of effects where they can just turn the dial a little bit here and there because this makes his floor way more consistent. Where like now if you have like Wasp and like just like I don't know, like just a stone in your deck for some reason, just you hit like stones and then Wasp or something like that, and he becomes like a 6/10, and you're like, well, that's unfortunate, even though it's not the worst thing in the world, by the way. This would make him probably more consistent in the sense of like he's on average a 6/15, 6/16, right? But his ceiling could be still like a 6/20 or so. So that's one thing. Well, I guess I should ask you first before we go on the next one. What do you think of like this type of change?
Maybe I still think it benefits Thanos deck the most. You know what I mean? And I think that's where people have their issue. Like, I think if we made this change, then you would only see him and Thanos. Like right now, I might make a video on this, but this guy, he's been popularizing some decks recently. What's his name? Ikas, IKAS something. But anyways, this blob deck, it's like some big things, and yeah, it's not a Thanos deck. So like that deck would just be kind of dead. Because you're getting the 3 cards instead of like the 6 that you would with Thanos. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. I don't think people would like a card being like so strong and specific to Thanos.
Fair. The next one is unreveal merge the top 3 cards or just top X cards instead and then you gain their power. So a little bit more RNG with it. If you hit the Infinite, cool, you high rolled, good for you. If you whiff and you hit 3 stones, then also sucks for you. Like, you know?
Yeah, something. Yeah, so God, see, so something like that I do like, but now I feel like it goes the other way, right? But I do think it would make Blob more inconsistent, right? Because what I mean when I say it goes the other way, now the non-Thanos decks, right? The decks where you're shoving in a bunch of big cards, and then but then it turns into more of like a hella lockjaw type situation. Like, you know, when you're playing like a lockjaw deck and you draw like Infinite every single time, you know, like I think this would put it a little bit closer to that. I think I might like this a little bit more.
See, I think this one has the potential to be more of a feels bad because whenever you lose to Hela because they hit the nuts, you're like, fuck. And then if this happens where it hits Infinite Giganto and like something else, and you're just like, all right, fuck you. Like that's like gonna be the sentiment I feel. So I'm not. I prefer less RNG in the game, but I've seen that one float around. Another one is like you alluded to earlier, make him a 6/0 or even give him negative power.
Yeah, like yeah, maybe negative power like that. Like I think right there, that's the knob to turn, right? Like that's the easiest one. They could be doing that like right now. They can literally be doing that right now because when people said 6/0, I'm like, is shaving 4 power off like even enough? Like make him like a 6, -1, -2, -3, something like that, and then like play around with it each week, see where it lands.
Like, what if his effect as is now? I guess also with the changing his power, but like, what if it was half the total power that he absorbs is what he gains?
Yeah, I think that would make him more.
He would still. I think that like make 15.
him. Yeah, and I think that'd put him a lot closer to other 6-cost cards. You know what I mean? Like even if he was anywhere between 6/10 and 6/15, you know?
Yeah, I think he would still see play in Thanos even at that point.
Yeah.
And then this is the last suggestion, which I thought was the funniest. Give Soulstone its ability to draw again. Give them one less card in the deck because of Soulstone.
Exactly.
That was my favorite one I saw. I think it was so funny when I read it. I was like, oh my fucking god. Look at the brain on this guy. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, just let him draw more cards. Yeah. No, that'd be fantastic. But here, again? So Ravens was, and then there was one below it too that I thought was interesting. So Raven says, on reveal, merge the highest cost card in your deck with this and gain its power. So the highest cost card in your deck. But now it's going to pick a random like 6-cost card. You know what I mean?
I don't like it because, okay, I'll tell you why I don't like it immediately. Because now it makes him just better. It's a better ramp card now. Wave into this is significantly better because you still draw cards. And by just not drawing into another big card, that helps you. Like,
yeah.
I don't like it. I get it for the balance of him, but he's still going to be really big on average. He's going to be like still, like if you hit Magneto, if Magneto's the biggest card in the Thanos deck, right? Got 12.
Yeah.
He's still a 6/16. He's original destroyer.
Yeah, and it feels like that would be like a better Dracula, right? Like a Dracula, it takes the power of but it's a random card in your hand. And now like this would like target a card, so that'd be like a better Dracula. But it'd be at 6 cost. This other one said someone in his chat suggested this is from Dougie Pie. In case you don't follow him, he streams sometimes on Twitter, but he says, someone in the chat suggested me that a cool nerf could be that blob merges with cards in your hand instead. And I'm like, I guess, I don't know how much that would change because it would just kind of flip-flop the randomness of it. You know what I mean?
At that point, I'd rather it just merge everything. Your hand and your deck, because that makes it a true, you need to play it on 6. That is your only option. If you ramp into it or you actually hit it with Lockjaw, guess what? You have nothing else for other lanes.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
But I don't think any of those 3 are the right answer.
Yeah. Yeah,
There's also the
yeah,
potential of a full rework, by the way.
yeah. I don't know. Like if it like maybe if it only merged with like 2 cards in your hand or something like that. Like I don't know. Let me read these again. Maybe +5. I don't know. Merge the top 3 cards.
Clearly, it's to
I
give Soulstone its ability to draw.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the true answer.
that might be the answer. Whenever I play Thanos, I'm like, God damn it, like this damn Soulstone. But yeah, I'm curious what they do. I will say this: like, second dinner always comes through with the nerfs. I am very surprised it is taking. Well, I'm not. I guess I'm not surprised because they had the winter break, but
Yeah.
it's taking this long with Blob. Like Blob, like it was clear this card was going to be decent. Like I knew the reason I knew this card was going to be so good is for all the times I don't draw my big cards. You know, whenever I don't draw my big cards, I'm like, oh, this solves that problem. You know,
Yeah.
now I don't really care what I didn't draw. So yeah, we'll see. Again, I'm not too frustrated when I go up against Blob. I had like an annoying game where they literally beat me by 1 point, even though they dropped like a huge blob. But I think Blob, and then a couple weeks later, or the following month, Kyera came out. That was like the biggest like, ugh. You know what I mean? Because now we
Yeah.
just have a lot of huge cards in the meta. Speaking of the meta, too, people are debating with me about this on Twitter right now. I tweeted out yesterday, and I was like, unpopular opinion. There's a lot of bad. Oh, here it is right here. I was like, there are a lot of really bad decks floating around right now being promoted as good. I was like, based on the current meta, tell me what you're smoking where Gladiator is a good card to play, right? Like, if you look at Untapped and you change it to post-infinite, to pre-infinite, like 4 out of the top 5 decks are decks that are playing the largest cards possible. That's actually one of the reasons I like this deck I was mentioning to you that uses Blob. It has Zero and it has Cosmo. So you can block your Gladiator's effect. But like people are just tossing Gladiator in, they're like, oh, you need big numbers. And like they're like debating with me right now, like, oh, well, you could miss this, or you could just Shang it. I'm like, no, because Kyera exists. And I don't like the Shang argument, right? Like I'm not a fan of the Shang argument, like with it makes more sense with Dr. Octopus, right? I can pull all your big stuff to one lane, then I can Shang it. With Gladiator, I'm pulling one, I'm giving you a free large card into a lane. So now you can use your energy to play another big card in another lane. And I'm sitting with one Shang-Chi. Like, I don't get it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of, I've been experimenting with a lot of decks, and there's just so many decks like people saying like, oh, this deck's so good, this deck's so good. I play it and just losing streaks. And I'm just laughing. I'm like, what is happening? And
I will say that I do like Gladiator right now. I think he as a 3 he's still good. I understand the RNG aspect. Like if you pull one of their bad cards or their big cards, you're like, well, that sucks. But like, look, more often than not, Gladiator is not a card that you should just be throwing out on 3. Think of Maximus, but when he was as a 2 or before as a 3, it's not a card that you typically just play on curve on 2 or 3. You usually hold it for the late game. That's why they're both cards that are played in Sarah Control now, because they're great as a 1/6 and a 2/8 when you can kind of be like, well, they're probably going to fill this lane, or it's so late in the game, the card I probably pull out is the odds are it might be small, or you just take that gamble and take that risk. I think Gladiator is a good card right now. Just because it has bad hits, I mean, it's not the end of the world. You can always just retreat.
Here's my other thing too. Like I get it with like Gladiator and Maximus, but like the other thing is too, there's so many games when I'm playing with these 2 cards in my deck where it's like they're like new Titanias, right? Where ideally you're not playing them until turn 6, so you have a little bit more agency over what they do. But like Titania is a 1 cost no matter what. And with these, I have so many games where I'm sitting there on turns 2, 3, 4, where like those cards are literally the only cards I can play. And I'm just like,
then you play them.
Then I'm like skipping turns because I don't want to do some dumb shit that helps my opponent out.
You need to stop playing scared. Okay. Like no, I'm being serious. Okay, I'll give you a great example. Coming from Magic, There was a standard in which one of the top cards for one of the control decks was called Settle the Wreckage. Settle the Wreckage says it costs 2 and 2 white, and it says it's an instant speed, so your opponent can play it on your turn. And it says exile all attacking creatures your opponent control, and then they get to have a land for each one, a basic land for each one, and put it on the battlefield. You don't give a shit about giving your opponent lands at that point, because when basically you go and attack and you're trying to kill your opponent and they're just like, settle, and then you just lost your entire board. So there are a lot of people that would play scared and just like try to play around settle, and just kind of like, I'm going to make them force the settle on like a 1 attacker or 2 attackers, and I can no, stop playing scared. Make them have it. If they have it, they have it. And they're gonna bluff. They're gonna leave 4 open mana and be like, I could have settled the wreckage here, and they could be bluffing. That's a huge tactic. Same thing in Snap. Just if you need to play Gladiator on 3 and that's your only option, and your hand is showing that you're like, you really just need to do this, just do it.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing. Like, I'm gonna pull up Untap right now, but like, I think that most of the decks playing Gladiator aren't even running like Shang-Chi. And that's even crazier. Okay, so the Sarah deck is. But let me go to most game count. Game count. Okay, these ones are running Shang. The top 2 are. The next most popular one is not. But yeah, that's the other thing too. I've seen a lot of people just promoting these decks that aren't even running Shang-Chi. And I'm just like, I don't know. It feels like the meta's in a weird place right now. It feels like there's a lot of grifters around right now just saying, oh, this is a crazy good deck. Crazy good. And I'm like, show me your games. Show me your games, right? Like, I want to see the luckiest of luck streak that you went on where like these Thanos blob decks are the most popular decks in the meta, and you're just running around giving them free cards because you're not playing scared, giving them free cards with Maximus, yanking down their huge shit with Gladiator, and you're just the biggest, strong, tough guy.
Actually,
show me the games.
I'll tell you right now, Maximus is great into Thanos because odds are their hand's almost full anyway. So if you give them a draw, or actually oftentimes for me, no draw at all, I'm like, don't give a shit.
Yeah, no, I do think like I prefer Maximus over Gladiator. Like, I think people are filling their hands, right? And some of them playing big things, they got to skip a turn or 2. So you're just like, whatever, you know?
But there are going to be metas, and like, I would do this. Like, it also depends on where you are, like where your level is. Like, if you're post infinite in the top 10,000 or top 5,000 or even the top few hundred, then you're probably running into a lot of Thanos blob, right? But if you're, just kind of in those 20,000s to a few teen thousands, you probably run into a bit more variety. At least I do, because that's where I currently am, where I'm chilling. Or if you're playing Conquest, I see a huge variety of decks in Conquest right now. Because
a lot of people playing Destroy, and it's been really weird.
Yeah, okay, by the way, Gladiator is sick against Destroy. Do you know how many times I'll fucking play it, and then, because it's free. Every card in their deck except for Death and Null are just insta-dead. Yeah. And it's amazing when they have priority. So they go like, they have like Bucky down, and or they get a big they get a Venom, like a big Venom, and then like grow it, and then you Gladiator and you pull Deathlock out, and you're like, buy Venom, buy Deathlock, get fucked. Like, Gladiator genuinely, there are some matchups where he's free, and you also have to be the kind of player to understand that you're putting Gladiator in your deck. Sometimes you have to be like, I'm probably just not going to play. It's a dead card in this matchup, right? But in other matchups, you're like, this is the freest. Like against Loki, for example, both previous iterations and the current iterations, it is the freest card in the world. It kills literally everything in a Loki deck, all of the cards.
Yeah. Like my thing is just like we talked about. Like, is it the best thing that you could be doing for that slot?
Well, right now, the best thing you can be doing is just playing either Thanos, High Evolutionary, or Black Knight.
Yeah.
All big stuff. But that's because it's all big stuff, and it's like a rock, paper, scissors thing. Or I guess Sarah Control and Lockdown are pretty decent at the moment because you can kind of hedge your bet against the big stuff. But we're getting an OTA this Thursday, so we're bound to have some kind of shakeup. So, by the way,
hopefully.
In this thread, there were some other suggestions for other cards. I only put up one. It's just this. Make Leech hit both hands was someone's suggestion. And I was like, that's interesting. It is interesting.
Yeah, that would
It
be
also
interesting.
it makes it so like, but then like Patriot decks would love playing Leech.
Oh yeah,
Sick.
yeah.
Haiba decks are mostly okay with it. Shuri decks might play Leech. So there's
Well,
a
that's
double-edged sword here.
that. Okay, that's also where Gladiator and Maximus shine, right? Like I've gone up against some Leech decks, so I have those. I'm like, all right, well, thank you. I
Yeah.
just put it down. But turn 6, Maximus isn't bad at all, anyways. But yeah, they'll do that. I'm like, okay, cool, got my Gladiator. Um, but yeah, so before we move into this, the last thing I wanted to say is, you guys, like when people are talking about like good decks, these random like off meta decks, like I love testing out decks, but like the data doesn't lie. The data doesn't lie. Untapped is not all of the data, but the data does not lie. All right, so let's talk about this. So, those of you who don't know, so we moved into the Spotlight cash system like what, like last summer, something like that. Um,
Mhm.
and a lot of people complained about it. People still to this day complain about it. Well, Lauren Whatevs, she's from Marvel Snap Zone. And then you have people like Jeff Hoagland, who has like a degree and a graduate's degree in mathematics. He's a big fucking math nerd. And these people, when the Spotlight Cash system came out, they did the math and they showed mathematically this new system is better than the previous system, mostly for new players. If you are a collection complete player, like people like me and Brad are fucked by the Spotlight Cash system, but we are the minority, all right? We're the minority. The Spotlight Cash system helped new players more than anybody. Well, anyways, Lauren Whatevs just came out because things have changed. Now we're getting a new card on the same week as the season pass. So she put together a little graph. If you want to, go check it out. I think she wrote a more in-depth article. The math goes over my head. But anyways, what she showed by the numbers is now that they're releasing a new card alongside the season pass card, the Spotlight Cash system is slightly worse for new players. All right. She goes on to say something about like buying the season pass is still like good and helps balance it out a little bit. But anyways, the tweet that we have up on screen here, I was talking about, I love how when Lauren and Jeff, they originally showed how the Spotlight Cash is better, and people were like, nope, it doesn't feel like it is. And now I have literally seen the same people who say that, right? Because they're like content creators and shit like that. They're sharing Lauren's new tweet and they're saying, hey, look at the data. Look at the data. It shows that it's worse. Look at the data. Like, you guys, you cannot pick and fucking choose when you're going to agree with the data. Like, that is just bonkers to me. All right. Like, if you're going to agree with Lauren's data now that it's a little bit worse, you have to go back and admit that you're an asshole because her data was right, that it was better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
I needed to rant about that a little bit because we have the same thing going on with Loki. We have the same shit going on with Loki, right? Like, Glenn and the team have consistently said, like, Loki is not one of the best decks, right? And they continue to nerf him. They continue to nerf Loki. They continue to nerf around it and stuff like that. And people are still like, nah, your internal data isn't right. Like, I know how it feels. I know, like, if you want to say Loki feels bad to play against, like, me and you have different opinions on what feels bad to play against. But if you're saying that it's like still overpowered, broken, like, Loki isn't even A or B tier anymore.
right.
You know,
Yeah. I
I
mean, it's with it's how the Snap community has been with pretty much everything in the game. It's more about the it's like the mouth feel. It's all about how feel bad it is. And I mean, we see a big green dude on the screen over on the right hand side next to Nick Cage, not Nick Cage, Nick Fury. Good God.
yeah.
We got leader. People really hated that guy. You were one of them because it feels
Oh
good
yeah.
to play against. At least that was the sentiment. It's just you'll never have a unanimous kind of feeling in that regard for every single card. Like, I think Leech obviously, like if I'm trying out a new deck and I'm excited to get like a combo going and they leech me,
Yeah.
I'll be like, man. But that doesn't mean I'm like, leech shouldn't be in the game. Delete this card. It's
Yeah.
just that one game, it sucked. But guess what? I'm playing a deck that's probably not that great anyway, so I'm just trying to hit the combo. Like,
Yeah.
leech is whatever, leader's whatever. I thought Eliath was whatever. I thought Loki was whatever. But also, for a lot of people, this is their first experience to a card game. And I come from several card games. And I've seen broken beyond fucking abhorrent broken shit through all the years that I've played card games. And Snap has not even come fucking close to any of that shit yet. The closest was Zabu on release with Spider-Man Absorbing Man. That was the closest thing to like obscenely broken. But like nothing is gonna be fucking like just pretty much anything power 9 level of like Magic. It's not even gonna be like thing like Underworld Breach of Magic. It's not gonna be like original Necros and fucking Yu-Gi-Oh. It's not gonna be Zodiac. It's like you're not. You got to see the bigger picture and understand like things suck and they feel bad, but like it's an ever evolving meta. You don't need to complain every second of the day. You're more than welcome to voice your opinion, but you get what, 2 OTAs and a patch every month?
I'm glad we're getting back into the original schedule and stuff. I'm hoping that reignites. Like I've still been playing a ton of Marvel Snap. I've just been getting bored because none of the decks I personally like playing are very strong right now. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll see. It's just interesting to me because like Second Dinner does somewhat do balances, card changes, OTAs based on player sentiment and what they like, you know what I mean? And if enough people like complain about something, like sometimes they'll tweak it just to chill people out. And like, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that because with Loki specifically, it feels very psychological. It's just, there's a group of people and until that card is just like wiped out and just made completely unplayable, I don't think this certain population of people will be happy, even though the popularity of the deck is like way down. The win rate of the deck is way down. Like they will not be happy until like nobody is playing Loki. And that's like a psychological thing. And it's like, I don't even know what you do with that. You know?
Gonna cry.
Yep. Just cry like little babies. All right.
So next stuff is, I believe, new cards. So I just have them straight up. 2 slides, 3, then 2. We got 5 new cards starting in order of release. Being the first week is going to be Black Swan and Supergiant. Of course, as always, these are subject to change because these are still technically data mined. And until they have officially announced with the reveal trailer, with all of the stats and stuff like that, you cannot take this as being the face value. But with that being said, it's still fun to look at and to see what we think in general. First up is Black Swan, the Season Pass card, a 2/3. I know, Chris, you're excited for this one. On reveal, until the end of your next turn, your 1 cost 0.
I like it. I like it a lot. Like this reminds me of like, you know, a Hit Monkey season or an Elsa or Elsa Bloodstone season where like bounce or like these decks where you play like a bunch of cards. Like I'm excited for Beta Ray Bill to come out in a week or two, just because I want to play some of those like guards decks where you like drop a bunch of shit on the final turn. But yeah, with Black Swan, like I can see playing Black Swan like in a bounce deck on like turn 5. You know what I mean? So you have like the zeros that you bounce back with Beast or whatever, and now like you make even more zeros. I'm hoping she makes Hit Monkey a little bit more playable again. That's what I'm hoping. But like, yeah, people are going to play a lot of, with this being the season pass card, people are going to be playing a ton of Mobius, and it's going to be very annoying. Very annoying. Just let me have my fun for like 5 minutes. Actually, I think it's overblown. I think a lot of people like playing with the season pass card. It's just like the second week, a lot of people are going to be playing Mobius. That's my my assumption.
Wouldn't it be so cool if we had sideboards where you can just bring in Elias whenever you felt was necessary, and we didn't have to worry about balancing strictly around a singleton format? Anyway, with Black Swan, I think she's cool. I think she's a card that looks like she's fun. Obviously, Bounce is a home, Zoo is a home, Thanos potentially a home. To be able to just like say like I have a bunch of 0-cost stones for the next turn, which can really help, especially now that the deck is running, or some variations of the deck are running She-Hulk because of Blob and Scar. So being able to play this the next turn, you play a bunch of stones, they all cost 0, so that you can float way more effectively and draw cards. That's a cool interaction there. Yeah, I just think she's a fun and neat looking card.
Do we think she's going to work with, I don't see why she wouldn't. Do you think she's going to work with cost reduction, right? Like say I get my She-Hulk down to 1 cost, how would you even do that though?
No, so she's going to definitely only change the base value. So you can't have it's not like you can have something reduced to 1 and then she takes it from there, because the base value of that card is still whatever it is. So She-Hulk, for example, she's still a 6-drop. So she will only change 1 drop, like 1 cost. So your stones, Ant-Man, all your Zoo stuff, that kind of thing, which can still be valuable, of course, but you're not going to be able to just like get death down to 1 and then now you have a 0-cost death. Like,
yeah, because I was wondering too, because if you like bounce back with Beast, like a 2 cost, make a 1, she won't reduce that. No. What might be interesting is putting her in some kind of Zoo or ongoing deck, and if you played her on 5, you could drop a surprise Ant-Man with Spectrum on turn 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that might be interesting.
That's cool. The one I'm more excited for, one that has one of the bigger changes, because this was originally a 1/2 in the data mine, and now it's a 4/5.
What? This was a 1/2?
Yeah.
Hot
the
damn.
last time it was data mined, it was a 1/2. It's Super Giant. On reveal, all cards played next turn don't reveal until the game ends. I think a 4/5 is perfect because she is best friends with Goliath.
Yeah, sell me on.
You just very simply, you play her on 4. Your opponent's stuff doesn't flip. You're most like basically, here's the thing: if you can gain priority, turn 3, play her. Well, I mean, it's gonna be turn 4, but she's a 4/5. That's pretty solid in her own right. But if you can do things like Martyr, like any of the 2/5s, like Lizard or Medusa or whatever, Gladiator on 3, stuff like that, or even things like Maximus, just really try to get value out of like what you're doing, and then just play her on 4. Nothing flips. You have priority. The next turn, on 6, you'll still have priority because nothing flips, nothing changes in the board state. And then you just Goliath a lane that you think is going to be the most free, and there you go.
So you mean playing her on 5 for an Goliath on 6?
No, you play her on 4. Nothing flips on 5, and then on 6, you should still have priority because you had priority on 4. So Goliath still works and then kills everything in that lane.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So priority wouldn't change on 5.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Everything's still upside down.
So you're like kind of forcing them into like an Invisible Woman situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm curious because then you're also banking on them playing some like really good cards on turn 5. You know what I mean?
Usually
I'm curious. Like, I think that'll be an interesting strategy, and maybe like one of the only
counters Sarah Control, for example.
Oh yeah. Screwing up a person's turn 5. Yeah, this kind of screws up Lockdown too. If people are still playing a decent amount of Professor X, you know what I mean? Right. So that's good. I've run into a lot of people playing like Storm with Jessica Jones too. You know, like Storm on. So yeah, well maybe not.
It doesn't mess up the Jessica Jones because it's not this turn and next turn. Yeah, I think there's enough big important plays on 5 where it does mess up quite a bit. And of course, like I think if you have this card, like I'll put it this way: if you don't own a Goliath, don't buy this card.
Yeah, this card's interesting. I'll tell you me personally, this is one of the ones where I'm not going to get it on the first day unless I see people doing something crazy with it. Like this is going to be one of those. Like speaking of, like Hercules, we're recording this the week of Hercules came out. I passed on Hercules. Did you get Hercules?
Yeah.
You silly bitch.
He's been fun.
Like
I think he's been fucking really fun.
I've seen him, and the fun factor looks there, but like even the amount of fun does not look like good enough to me.
I've been playing Perry Manlow's and Obehaved, their deck. I made some tweaks. I actually added Maximus and Gladiator to the deck because I was like, because it was all in. It was bounce, move, and it was all in on just getting a really big Vulture, a really big, Human Torch, and just bringing them into Hercules and bouncing it around, stuff like that, and having massive power, and then dropping Living Tribunal, right? That was the whole idea. But when you don't draw your Vulture or your Human Torch, you're like, this is just a bad move deck. Because now what am I going to do? I'm going to Ghost Spider my Doctor Strange for no value. Like, it feels really bad. So I dropped Falcon, and I dropped Iron Man, because I was like, these are way too win more to me. Beast is good enough for the bounce aspect. So and then I put in Maximus and Gladiator. It was a little bit better. But anyway, that with Hercules, like Hercules is like the all-star in that deck for like enabling shit and getting like, because if you just go like on one, you go Iron Fist into what's it called? Human Torch, and then Ghost Spider to bring it back into the Iron Fist lane, and then you Beast, bounce them all back. And then you just go Hercules on 4, and then you can have they have 0 cost of all these. And you can bring them back in and move them around and stuff like that. It's just super fun, and it's like I think Hercules is like I think he should be a 3 cost, probably like a 3/5, or like if he could be a 2 cost, it'd be amazing. But like he's just a little too expensive. But in that particular deck with the strategy it's going for, when he works, he's awesome. It's just he has a little bit of awkwardness to him. So it comes down to personal preference, I suppose.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm still keeping an eye out. Like I may fold one day if just out of boredom because I want to try something new. But yeah, so we'll see.
I mean, I still have 18. No, I have 19 spotlight keys right now. So.
Oh yeah, like
4.
I think I mentioned it on the podcast. I was just like, oh man, I really want those variants. Like I want the werewolf variant and the Howard variant. I opened up 3 spotlights. I got everything except Hercules. So I was like, all right, I'll take it as a win.
What's one more at this point? Just use one.
No, fuck you.
I have 30,000 tokens too, so I'm just chilling. I don't think there's really any ultimates I'm gonna get anytime soon. So.
Yeah, I currently have 22 spotlights and 48,000 tokens. That's how bad I think Hercules is. That I'm balling out of control, and I'm like, nah, fuck that card.
If he was a Series 4, I think he'd be way more worth it for the 3,000 tokens.
Yeah, I am shocked they don't have more Series 4 cards coming out. They got to look at him and just be like, come on, like, do you want this card to get played or not? Just like, you know what I mean? Like, there'd be
how is Legion a Series 4 card? And
Legion was one of the last cards where they were just like, okay, we'll release a good card as Series 4. You know, it's very, very strange. All right, what's the next good card?
Well, we got Coal Obsidian, also another card that was changed from a 4/10, where you can only play this where you control an Infinity Stone, to a 4/9. Also, it had the effect of it can't be destroyed, by the way. Where you have a 1 cost. So they reduced its power from 10 to 9 because it lost the can't be destroyed. So now it dodges Shang-Chi. Love that. This is still a staple card in Thanos, I think, because you still have essentially the same tie-in. This is also with Blob. Should Blob not be changed at that point, but I imagine with Blob being changed in some capacity, he's probably still going to care about power in some way. So I guess it's a wait and see. But anyway, this is also just a great value card in Zoo. And there are a decent amount of 4s you can play in Zoo. So maybe you can do like some Zabu stuff, and you can play this on 3. And then you can still like play the board. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah. Like I'll probably get Coal Obsidian. I'm thinking because this could even be good in like a bounce deck, right? Like in bounce, you want like at least one lane where you're like putting something big right? Just in case some of your other stuff doesn't get too big. And like it's just like, okay, toss this in, and it's a 4-9, way above rate. Toss it in there,
Also,
because you're gonna have.
I think this goes in high evo. I know that list is super tight, and you do got to cut something, but you run 3 really good 1-drops. The odds of you having one of them are pretty high. So a 4-9 just straight up in the deck, I think is just really good.
Yeah, because those are usually running like Misty Knight, Sunspot, Nebula.
Right. Those 3.
So yeah. So why not? Yeah, I think high Evo decks are very flexible. Some of them run Infinite, some of them run Hulk.
It sucks that you have to run high Evo himself. That's the downside of high Evo decks.
Yeah.
Because he's so bad. Fun. Can we make him a 4/7 like he was originally data mined?
Those decks are already so damn good.
I know.
So I don't think they're gonna.
Also, just give me a reason to play him.
Yeah.
Like he has sick variants. But yeah, this is a cool card. I think I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And then I saved the last 2 perfectly like this because they're both discard cards. We have. It's also fitting because they're together, right? Isn't that the whole thing?
I don't know. I just watched Infinity War and Endgame over the weekend. Girlfriend's out of town, so I'm like, ooh, I recognize all these people. But
we got Corvus Glaive, which is on reveal, discard 2 cards from your hand to get +1 max energy, and then Proxima Midnight is a 4/6. When this is discarded, jumps to your lowest power location. That isn't full. So we'll go with Corvus first. I'll give you my immediate first take. I think he's bad, and then I'll hand it off to you.
I don't know. Like right now, I'm like on the Mike hype train, right? So like I'm looking at this, and I'm like, ooh, another little enabler for Miek, right? So like maybe, but yeah, like look at his ability, and like look at what they've had to do to Hellcow. Hellcow is now a 4/8, which is like way above rate, and people still don't run that card in discard decks. You know what I mean?
It's random discard. That's the problem. Yeah. Like you need to have a hand that's just Wolverine, Proxima Midnight, Swarm, APOC, and then Corvus, and you're like, okay, cool, I don't care what I hit there. But like if you have all your enablers, or your other discard outlets, right, or discarders, I should say.
Yeah.
Your Colleen, your Lady Sif, and you'd hit those, and you're just like, well, I'm gonna cry. And look, I understand it's +1 max energy, which is just Electra's ability, and that's super powerful. So I think there's a chance he can be played in like a hybrid discard thing that's trying to do something else, but he does not go in a normal discard deck, because what are you doing with your +1 max energy? Look at discard decks. They're awkward.
I'm almost wondering if this goes into like a semi-destroy package, right? Like where you have like Dakin, Wolverine, X-23. You know what I mean? Where you like have some things and
so you hit those, yeah.
Yeah, and Proxima Midnight, something like that, maybe. I don't know. Like this card, like even though I don't play a ton of discard for all the reasons mentioned, like I'm probably gonna get this because it seems like it's something that you can make something work, right? Yeah. But I just don't know if +1 max energy is a good enough payoff. Like I'm trying to think, like for example, X-23. X-23 is really good in Destroy because now I could play Null and Deadpool on turn 6, right? Like in a discard like deck, like I'm trying to think like, what do I need that extra energy for? Like, what is that payoff doing for me? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like your typical curve of a traditional deck is going to be like whatever 1-drop you want to run in the deck, whether it's Meek, whether it's Sunspot, Nebula, whatever. You run one of those, you play that on 1. Turn 2, you play either, Colleen Wing to hit your Swarm, or then you go like Morbius, just to have a good 2/0 that grows. And then you play Corvus, right? But you need to have a hand that's not doing anything else, or you need to have a hand that's like guaranteed to hit good stuff. You don't want to discard Lady Sif as one of the cards. You don't want to discard Colleen Wing. You want to hit your big stuff. And then on 4, cool, you have 1 extra energy. Are you going to go MODOK early? is that your plan? I'm sure sometimes
Yeah.
that'd be cool. Otherwise, if you're not, then I guess you could maybe like do, your Lady Sif plus Morbius if you didn't play him on 2 and you play Colleen Wing on 2. But then here's the thing: you have to not discard those cards,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
It'll.
if he said discard the 2 ends, like the book ends, because that's what I
Yeah.
think him and Cal should be. By the way, I think all discards should no longer be random. Also, fucking what's his name should get some changes to Blade Master or whatever.
Swordmaster.
Swordmaster. So the Corvus should be the bookends. Same thing with Hellcow. It should be your furthest leftmost and your furthest rightmost cards are discarded.
Yeah. Yeah, if you give like we saw how great it was like for Blade. Like Blade still isn't the best card, but it's just like giving just like some agency, just like a little.
I think Blade is like the best card in Black Knight.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like it's a must have in your discard decks now, right? But like, yeah, give us some agency because there's still like anybody who's played a ton of Black Knight, there's still plenty of situations where like your Blade is not hitting something you want, right? So like, I think like the bookend idea that you're talking about, yes, cool, do that. Or the second card to the left. Like, give me just a little bit of, just a tiny bit of agency. There's a tiny bit.
I will concede though that Corvus probably has to be random because you need like if you look at comparatively the other 3-cost card that does this in Electro, he Sandmans yourself essentially, right? That's a big downside. Yeah. Corvus needs to have a downside, and discarding 2 random cards is a correct downside, I think. But that's also why I think it's bad.
And maybe that's the thing. Maybe like people are gonna just toss this in for some kind of weird ramp strategy and do like a hella type
Hear
deck.
me out. Yeah, I was thinking you just play normal ramp, and instead of Electro, you play Corvus, and then you just have Hella in the deck as one of your 6 drops. That's it. You don't do anything else. A 2-card package, Corvus, Hella, and then everything else is regular ramp. That's all.
Yeah.
That could actually work.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Proxima. Like, you don't think you're gonna always want to run Proxima with Corvus?
Oh, probably. I think she's actually really good. I think she just straight up replaces Wolverine in like the more traditional discard lists.
Yeah.
Like, straight up. Yeah. Now, I guess maybe you want to run both of them with Corvus. You want to have better hits. But I think she's just very good. She's a 4/6. That's a good stat line that you don't feel super bad about playing on curve if you don't discard her. If you have nothing else to do on 4, like, or you high roll, and obviously with her in your hand with MODOK, she's amazing. She also goes to your lowest power location, which sometimes can be a detriment if like your opponent has like, they turn 1 Infinite because the fucking what's it called, the plus 5 energy location came up, and then she goes to that one because you've been avoiding that one, and you're like, well, that's a little unfortunate. But more often than not, I think that's fine. I think she's good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm glad to see like just some stuff to do with discard. Like I like one of the fun things about Black Knight is like you're not always just necessarily going all in on discard. You know what I mean? You're doing like some other stuff. So I like when you can like mix and match these kind of things. So I'm curious to see what people do. I think people are going to get creative with Corvus, but yeah, if it just turns into like a new ramp deck, I'm going to be very bored and annoyed. But yeah, Proxima
is just the best thing to do though.
Yeah, but like now Proxima, like if you're playing like a MODOK deck, like you're automatically like if you have Apocalypse in there and then you have Proxima too, like that's a lot of cool stuff going on,
I just want something to make Dracula better. I still don't like the most recent change for him. And I still really want, like we talked about last time, just give me something that just creates a Chavez type of card in your deck. Like, I don't know, like just something that's exclusive to discard. I don't know. I mean, just, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the deck really wants. Though
Yeah.
maybe these two cards are enough. Maybe I'm wrong. I will happily be wrong. Happily be wrong.
I wonder what Dracula's play rate is now. It's probably so low. Yeah, 4.6%.
I was gonna say 3%, but
It's at 5.5% pre-infinite. But yeah, that's like nothing. That's nothing. So yeah, we'll see if that brings it back. But yeah, with Mick coming out, these I'm gonna be messing around with some discard.
yeah.
I wonder if you could do like a discard bounce with Mick, right? Huh? Almost like how people are doing like the bounce move, do a little bounce discard, get things back, pop, 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 pop.
Maybe.
Get Mick huge. Let's see this week. This week we'll be doing some cooking.
Now there was a what was the one? Oh yeah, the if we want to go off a early data mine, because I think you mentioned this that we could probably talk about, or maybe maybe it came to me in a dream. It doesn't matter. There's Hope Summers that's eventually coming out. This is the March season pass card. She is a 3/3 again, data mined, and I basically I'll spoiler. I quote tweeted this and said there is zero shot this releases as zero shot. And you came in saying you want to have people bookmark it. I'm like, yeah, this time I'm actually there's no way. This is a slam dunk, easy peasy. 3/3 that has just this text. It's not on reveal, not ongoing. It is just a static text. After you play a card here, you get +2 energy next turn. No fucking way this releases as is. No way. You're telling me just this with kid again, it's on turn 3, so you start getting access to the +2 energy on 5 and 6 essentially. So I guess that's your quote unquote drawback. But we talk about We talk about what's his name? Corvus here being a card that's like the +1 max energy. That can be like, what are you gonna do with that? Well, here's the thing. Hope, all you have to do is just play her with something like Kitty Pryde, and you're pretty happy. And then the world is your oyster. Do whatever else you want for turns 5 and 6. Getting 7 energy and 8 energy on 5 and 6 is insane. That's crazy. No fucking choices that way.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a +1 energy, but also like they might just be like, fuck it. Like we've had some like pretty mid. Oh, does it?
The wording on this implies that after
you
play a card here, you get +2 energy next turn. So
what I'm getting at is we've had some pretty like mid season pass cards, and they might just say like fuck it, like here's your next Loki, Zabu.
They're shooting themselves in the foot if they do that. People are gonna be so fucking pissed. People will complain about this card and the meta that this spawns more than any other meta. I guarantee.
What's annoying to me here's what's annoying to me, Brad. Like all of the metas that I enjoy, people complain about, and the ones I don't enjoy, people are like that's fine. Like a lot of people are cool with it. Like I loved when Loki came out, right? It was interesting. It was a lot of cards, and like it was just like, I don't know, interesting stuff going on. Also Bloodstone, I was in like heaven. It was a lot of bounce type, just playing a bunch of cards, Hope Summers would bring that to the table. Like, why won't anybody let me just have some fucking fun, Brad? Why is it just everybody wants these big point slam decks? I just want to have some fun. I want to put a lot of little shit out on the board, bounce some of it back to my hand. I don't think it's too much to ask for.
You can still play bounce right now. Bounce is still solid.
Brad, I could do whatever the fuck I want to in the game. It doesn't mean that it's good, okay? I could just use auto deck fill every game if I wanted to. I'm a grown-ass man. I want my decks to be good.
Once Beta Rebel comes out, you're gonna be cooking with the Grandmaster and that whole thing, the Miracle Cheerios deck.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Fucking terrifying. Fuck that card. Fuck out of here with that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the next patch. See if that changes at all.
All right. Well.
Yeah. That's all we got.
And with that, we love you. We appreciate you. We're going to be back in a couple weeks. Trying to think of what happens in 2 weeks. Is anything happening in 2 weeks? That's
OTAs
Beta Ray Bill comes out, so we can talk about Beta Ray Bill next, and then our experience with both Meek and Grandmaster. So that's fun. And then we'll maybe have some other stuff we can talk about once that comes around, depending on what the OTAs bring to the table. Or we just get another random data mine that people freak the fuck out about, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sure people freak the fuck out about something by then.
But until then, we love you. And as my pastor used to always say, may our faces shine unto you and be gracious to you. May we look on you in favor and give you our peace while you give us your thanks. Bye-bye. Amen. See ya.
Peace.